Most of us know the story of David and Goliath, the giant, the sling, the stone, the victory. But there's so much more behind that one dramatic moment. Today, let's go back to David's life before the battle to understand how a young shepherd became a hero who would inspire generations. David was the youngest of 8 sons in a humble family from Bethlehem. Imagine being the youngest, constantly overshadowed by older siblings, often overlooked, and expected to tend the sheep while others got recognition. For David, life wasn't about glory. It was about responsibility, perseverance, and learning lessons no one else noticed. He spent countless hours in the fields, not just grazing sheep, but protecting them from lions and bears. Picture a boy, alone with nothing but a staff and sling, facing wild predators to save the flock. Every encounter sharpened his courage, honed his instincts, and built a quiet confidence. Those small victories weren't newsworthy, but they shaped him for something much bigger. It's fascinating to realize that David's heroism wasn't born overnight. His courage grew slowly, forged in solitude and in service. Being alone in the fields taught him resilience, patience, and trust, not only in his skills but in God. Every challenge, every moment of fear, was a chance to learn that strength and faith often come from the small, unseen moments of life. David's family didn't always see it. They thought of him as the youngest, the one too small, too inexperienced for anything important. But David's faith and determination didn't depend on approval from others. He quietly practiced, honed his aim with a sling, and developed the courage to face danger head-on. There's something deeply relatable here. How many of us have felt underestimated, overlooked, or dismissed, yet continue to prepare ourselves for the moments that truly matter? Even in solitude, David wasn't alone. He learned to listen and trust in God, turning to prayer and reflection while guarding the flock. The Bible says that God was with him, but it doesn't mean life was easy. Every lion he fought, every bear he faced, was a test, not just of strength, but of character. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the choice to act in spite of it. And David was learning that lesson long before anyone even knew his name. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the fields grew quiet, David likely sat on a rock, sling in hand, thinking about life, about God, about what he could do to serve and protect. He probably didn't know that his quiet faith and daily courage were shaping him for one of the most legendary battles in history. But every stone he flung, every decision to stand firm, was preparing him for the moment when courage would meet destiny. David's humility was another key part of his journey. Despite his bravery, he never sought attention or accolades. He stayed faithful to his duties, helping his family and tending the sheep without complaint. It's a lesson for all of us. Sometimes the most important preparation happens away from the spotlight, in patience, consistency, and quiet devotion. When David finally heard about Goliath, a giant terrorizing the Israelite army, most people doubted he could face such a formidable enemy. Even his own brothers dismissed him. But David remembered the lessons of the fields, the countless times he had faced danger, and the faith that had been building in him since childhood. Courage doesn't come from size or strength alone. It comes from experience, preparation, and trust in something greater than yourself. This is where the story gets even more inspiring. David's life shows us that heroes aren't born in moments of glory. They are made in the quiet struggles, in the unseen victories, in the faith we nurture when no one is watching. The giant might have been intimidating, but David had something far more powerful: confidence, skill, and an unshakable trust in God. So, as we look forward to the next part of this story, keep this in mind. The battle with Goliath wasn't David's first challenge, and it certainly wasn't his last. It was a culmination of years of preparation, courage building, and quiet victories. And the lesson for us? Life is full of giants, situations that feel impossible, challenges that seem overwhelming, but the preparation, courage, and faith we build in small, everyday moments can prepare us to face them. In the next part, we'll dive into David's mindset as he stands before Goliath, a young boy facing a giant with nothing but a sling and a heart full of faith. We'll explore his strategy, his courage, and the way he trusted God in a moment that would inspire the world forever. For now, remember this: every small act of courage, every quiet moment of preparation, and every choice to trust even when overlooked is shaping your own story. You might not see it yet, but just like David, the seemingly small and ordinary moments in your life could be preparing you for something extraordinary. David wasn't just a boy with a sling. He was a young man who had already faced countless small battles, protecting his sheep, confronting wild animals, and standing up for what was right even when others doubted him. Each of those experiences was building something far greater: confidence in his skills, trust in God, and the courage to step forward when everyone else hesitated. Imagine standing on the battlefield, looking up at Goliath, a giant, fully armored, towering over you. Soldiers are frozen in fear. The air is heavy with tension. Most people would feel paralyzed. But David didn't focus on fear. He focused on what he knew and whom he trusted. He remembered the lions and bears he had faced in the fields, the times he had protected his flock, and the countless moments of preparation that no one had noticed. Courage, he knew, wasn't about size, it was about faith and skill. One of the most incredible parts of this story is how David's confidence came from relationship with God, not arrogance. He didn't boast about strength or claim he could defeat Goliath on his own. Instead, he recognized that this was a moment where God's power could shine through someone who trusted him. That's a lesson that resonates today. When we face our own giants in life, true courage comes from understanding that we are not alone and that faith can carry us farther than we imagined. Even King Saul, the leader of the Israelite army, doubted David. "You're just a boy. Goliath has been a warrior since youth," Saul said. But David wasn't intimidated by opinion or tradition. He believed in what he had learned from life and faith. He saw the battle differently, not as a hopeless fight, but as an opportunity to trust God and act boldly. This perspective is one of the most powerful parts of his story, seeing challenges as opportunities rather than threats. Before the battle, David made a choice that would define the encounter. He rejected the king's armor, which didn't feel natural or comfortable to him. Instead, he chose the tools he knew: his sling and 5 smooth stones. This decision shows something important. Courage is also about authenticity. David didn't try to become someone he wasn't. He relied on his own experience and the skills God had helped him develop. There's a real-life lesson here. When facing challenges, relying on what you know and your own strengths, rather than trying to copy others, often leads to the best outcome. David's approach to Goliath wasn't just about physical ability. It was mental and spiritual preparation. He knew fear would try to creep in, yet he stayed focused on his mission. He spoke with confidence, not arrogance. "You come against me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." Notice the power of his mindset. He wasn't thinking about the giant size or the threat of failure. He centered himself on faith, purpose, and the training he had already undergone. This is where the story becomes truly inspiring. David teaches us that preparation matters, but mindset matters just as much. Facing giants in life, whether it's fear, doubt, or overwhelming obstacles, requires courage, clarity, and trust. David had all 3 in abundance because he had spent years learning them in small, unseen battles. Imagine the silence on the battlefield as David stepped forward. The giant mocked him, but David didn't retreat. He focused on what he could control: his skill, his faith, his aim. Every step he took toward Goliath was a step fueled by confidence built over years of small victories. There's a lesson here. Giant challenges often appear impossible until you approach them with preparation, focus, and faith. And here's a point that often gets missed. David didn't try to defeat Goliath in human terms. He didn't run in with brute strength or fight like a seasoned warrior. He fought strategically, using his sling, a tool he had mastered, and trusting God for the rest. Sometimes in life, we face challenges that seem impossible. The key isn't always to overpower them, but to act wisely, use the tools we have, and trust that greater forces are guiding us. David's courage also inspired others. The Israelite army had been paralyzed with fear, but watching David step forward changed the atmosphere. Confidence is contagious. When someone acts with faith and purpose, it shifts the energy around them. Even in your life, stepping forward with courage can inspire others to act, to believe, and to hope. Before he even released the stone, David had already won in a way that goes unnoticed in most retellings. He stood firm in faith, embraced his preparation, and refused to be defined by fear. That alone is a victory many people never recognize, the internal courage to face what seems impossible. So, as David released the stone, the world remembers the instant victory, the giant falling, the battle won, but the untold story is the years of preparation, courage building, faith, and strategic thinking that led to that moment. Every small act in David's life, every challenge, every moment of solitude in the fields contributed to this turning point. The lesson for us is clear. Giants in our lives, whether fear, doubt, career challenges, or personal struggles, can be faced successfully when we prepare, trust, and act boldly. Courage isn't about size. It's about faith, experience, and mindset. And often, the preparation comes in the quiet, unseen moments before the battle. In the next script, we'll explore the battle itself in greater detail, the tension, strategy, and spiritual lessons that most retellings skip over. You'll see David not just as a boy who threw a stone, but as someone whose life and faith crafted an extraordinary victory. For now, remember this. The giant might seem intimidating, but preparation, faith, and courage can make even the impossible possible. David didn't just defeat Goliath. He showed the world how belief, focus, and trust can overcome fear, no matter the size of the challenge. As David approached the battlefield, he knew he was facing a giant unlike any he had confronted before. Goliath wasn't just tall. He was heavily armored, experienced in war, and terrifying to anyone who looked up at him. The Israelite army was frozen in fear. They had seen giants, yes, but none like this. And yet, David's mind was calm. Not because he underestimated the danger, but because he trusted God and believed in the preparation that life had given him. Before the fight, David had already done what most soldiers never do. He had assessed the situation and relied on his strengths. He rejected Saul's heavy armor because it was unfamiliar, clunky, and would slow him down. Instead, he chose his sling and 5 smooth stones, tools he had mastered in the fields while protecting his flock. This moment is so important because it shows that courage isn't recklessness. It's understanding your own abilities, trusting your skills, and taking action in alignment with your strengths. Goliath laughed when he saw David approaching. He saw only a boy, small, unarmored, inexperienced. And that's what made David's faith so extraordinary. Most people, even soldiers, would have frozen in that moment. But David didn't let fear define him. He spoke boldly, not with arrogance, but with conviction. You come against me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty. Notice how David's words were as much a part of the battle as his sling. Confidence, faith, and focus can shift the tide of any challenge. Even Goliath, the mighty warrior, could not withstand the power of someone who believed in a higher purpose. It's a lesson for all of us. When facing overwhelming obstacles, inner conviction can be more powerful than brute strength. The actual moment of the fight was dramatic, yet simple. David ran toward Goliath, picked a smooth stone, placed it in his sling, and let it fly. The stone hit the giant's forehead with precision, knocking him down instantly. But the real victory wasn't in the stone itself. It was in the faith, preparation, and courage that led to that moment. Every stone David had thrown in the fields, every encounter with danger, every hour of training, had prepared him for this one decisive act. It's worth imagining the emotional intensity of that moment. Soldiers holding their breath, the enemy army stunned. And David? Focused, calm, relying on what he knew, and trusting God for the rest. This is a lesson in the power of faith combined with preparation. Miracles often happen at the intersection of effort and belief. Another aspect of the story that gets overlooked is David's mindset after the stone struck. He didn't gloat. He didn't boast. He simply acted decisively to ensure victory, finishing the battle with courage and clarity. David's humility in victory is just as important as his bravery in the fight. True courage often comes with humility, understanding that the outcome is not just about personal glory, but about fulfilling a purpose greater than oneself. Think about this in our own lives. We face giants all the time: fear, self-doubt, challenges at work, conflicts in relationships, or personal struggles. David's example shows that preparation, faith, and strategic action can help us confront even the most intimidating obstacles. And the key isn't always to overpower the challenge, but to approach it with clarity, courage, and trust in what we know and believe. David's victory also inspired others. The Israelite army, previously paralyzed with fear, was now energized. The giants' defeat showed them that faith and courage can move mountains, or in this case, topple giants. This ripple effect is something we often forget. Our courage and conviction don't just change our own story. They can inspire and transform those around us. Another important lesson is that life's giants don't always appear as literal threats. Many are symbolic: fear, anxiety, doubt, or seemingly insurmountable challenges. The principle remains the same. Approach them with preparation, faith, and confidence in your strengths, and the impossible can become possible. And here's something fascinating. David's story also highlights the role of divine timing and guidance. The giant was intimidating, yes, but David had prepared for this moment his whole life. Every struggle, every act of courage, every lesson learned in solitude had led to the right moment at the right time. Sometimes in our lives, we feel unprepared for challenges, but the preparation might already be in place. We just need the courage to step forward. As we reflect on this untold story, it's clear that David's battle with Goliath wasn't just a physical confrontation. It was a spiritual and mental victory as well. He showed that faith, preparation, courage, and humility together can achieve what seems impossible. It's a lesson we can carry into our own lives, no matter what giants we face. Immediately after the battle, the Israelite army was filled with awe and renewed courage. What had seemed impossible became a moment of triumph. David's bravery and faith had inspired not only himself, but everyone around him. People began to see that courage and trust in God could truly overcome fear and uncertainty. This is something we can apply today. Our actions, even small, courageous ones, can ripple outward to inspire others in ways we may never realize. David didn't immediately become famous or king. In fact, his victory was only the beginning of a journey filled with challenges, learning, and growth. What stands out is his humility. He didn't seek glory or personal reward. He gave credit where it was due, recognizing God's guidance in every step. That's a lesson many forget. Victories are more meaningful when approached with humility, and true success often comes from recognizing forces beyond oneself. After Goliath's defeat, David's life began to change. People noticed him, and the story spread quickly through Israel. But with recognition came jealousy and opposition, even from King Saul. Life rarely offers smooth paths, even after remarkable victories. David faced envy, political tension, and challenges to his integrity. Yet, he remained steadfast, trusting in God and relying on the values and courage that had prepared him for this moment. This is a powerful reminder for us. After we overcome a giant in our own lives, fear, challenge, or doubt, the real test is how we handle what comes next. Triumph often brings new responsibilities, scrutiny, and challenges that can test our character even more than the initial obstacle. David's story teaches us resilience, patience, and faith in times of both victory and pressure. David also demonstrated a crucial leadership lesson: courage combined with wisdom. He didn't stop at defeating Goliath. He took steps to protect his people and maintain justice. Leadership isn't just about winning battles. It's about guiding others with integrity, courage, and compassion. We see this reflected in our own lives when overcoming challenges enables us to help others, mentor, or lead by example. Another untold lesson is the importance of preparation over impulse. David's victory wasn't luck. Every stone he threw in the fields, every encounter with danger, every quiet act of courage had prepared him for this moment. Life's victories, big or small, often come as the result of consistent preparation and faith, even when no one is watching. It's the unseen effort that equips us for the moments that truly define us. Even after the battle, David had to navigate public perception. Some celebrated him, others doubted him, and some envied him. Yet he remained grounded. He didn't let praise or criticism change his path. This is vital advice for all of us. After achieving something significant, staying true to our principles, faith, and purpose is more important than seeking validation. True growth comes from internal values, not external recognition. David's humility and integrity also influenced how he interacted with King Saul. Instead of acting out of revenge or ambition, he chose patience and faith. This demonstrates that victory isn't just about what we achieve, it's also about how we carry ourselves afterward. Responding with grace, even when others challenge or misunderstand us, is a hallmark of true character. The aftermath also reinforced the lesson of courage intertwined with faith. David's reliance on God wasn't just a pre-battle strategy, it continued afterward. Faith provides not only the strength to face challenges, but also the wisdom to navigate life after victory. When we align our actions with our values and trust, the results extend beyond immediate success. They shape our long-term journey. David's story after the battle shows that every victory, no matter how spectacular, is part of a larger narrative. One moment of triumph doesn't define a life. What matters is how we grow, learn, and lead afterward. He used his experience to build resilience, strengthen relationships, and continue developing as a leader and faithful servant. We can take these lessons into our own lives. When we overcome obstacles, be they personal fears, professional challenges, or emotional struggles, the aftermath is an opportunity to reflect, learn, and grow. It's not just about celebrating the win. It's about understanding what it teaches us, how it shapes our character, and how we can use it to inspire and guide others. In David's case, the lessons of humility, patience, preparation, and reliance on faith laid the foundation for his future as king. Each victory, each trial, and each challenge was a stepping stone toward a life of leadership, wisdom, and enduring influence. The untold story is that the battle with Goliath was just the beginning of a journey filled with growth, responsibility, and lessons that extended far beyond a single moment of heroism. So, as we reflect on the aftermath, remember this. Overcoming a giant in your life is not just about the fight itself. It's about what you do afterward, the choices you make, the way you handle recognition or opposition, and the values you uphold. That's where true victory lies. David's life after Goliath wasn't just about victories on the battlefield. It was about character, leadership, faith, and resilience. He became a man admired for his courage, yes, but more importantly, for his humility and integrity. Every action he took, every decision, reflected the lessons he had learned long before he faced the giant. And that is perhaps the most powerful untold story. The giant was only one moment in a life shaped by faith and preparation. One major takeaway is the importance of preparation over luck. David didn't defeat Goliath by chance. He had spent years in the fields, learning courage, honing his skills, and deepening his trust in God. Life's battles, big or small, often reward those who are quietly preparing every day. Whether it's a career challenge, a personal struggle, or a moral dilemma, the groundwork we lay in ordinary moments can prepare us for extraordinary outcomes. Another lesson is faith in the unseen. David trusted God when everyone else doubted him. He didn't see a giant as insurmountable. He saw an opportunity to act with courage and conviction. In our modern lives, faith might not always mean religion. It can mean trust in our principles, values, and the knowledge that we are capable of more than we often believe. Giants, fear, doubt, failure can be overcome when we cultivate faith in ourselves, in our journey, and in forces greater than ourselves. David's story also teaches humility and victory. After defeating Goliath, he didn't boast or seek personal glory. He gave credit to God, stayed humble, and continued serving his people faithfully. This is crucial in today's world, where success can quickly lead to pride or arrogance. True victory is not just about achievement. It's about maintaining integrity, showing gratitude, and inspiring others through example. Another layer of David's legacy is leadership through service. His courage and faith inspired others, and his humility gained respect. Leadership isn't just about authority. It's about inspiring and uplifting others, guiding them with wisdom, empathy, and integrity. When we face our own giants, the way we handle challenges can influence and encourage those around us, even when we don't realize it. David's life after the battle reminds us of resilience in adversity. Even after defeating Goliath, he faced jealousy, danger, and personal trials. Yet he remained steadfast, learning, growing, and trusting in his faith. Life doesn't stop testing us after a victory. It often presents new challenges to ensure we continue growing. David's example encourages us to keep moving forward, no matter what obstacles arise. Perhaps one of the most relatable lessons is trusting your unique path. David didn't try to be Saul or anyone else. He used his own skills, relied on his preparation, and trusted his instincts. Every person has unique abilities and experiences that can help them face life's giants. The trick is to recognize your strengths, trust your preparation, and step forward boldly. David also shows us that courage and faith are contagious. After Goliath fell, the Israelite army's fear turned into courage. One person's bravery can inspire an entire community. In our lives, our courage, honesty, and resilience can influence friends, family, colleagues, and even strangers, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond our immediate actions. Finally, David's story is a reminder that life is a journey, not a single moment. The battle with Goliath was pivotal, but it was just one chapter. His legacy was built over a lifetime of choices, faith, preparation, humility, and courage. Each moment mattered, from tending sheep to facing giants, from quiet reflection to public leadership. The untold story is that our lives are built in small, meaningful actions that prepare us for moments of destiny. So, what can we take from David's journey today? Prepare every day. The small, unseen efforts matter more than we realize. Trust in faith and conviction. Believe in your abilities, values, and the guidance of something greater. Act with courage. Even when challenges seem impossible, stepping forward can create extraordinary outcomes. Stay humble in victory. True success combines achievement with integrity and gratitude. Led through service. Inspire others with your actions, faith, and example. Embrace resilience. Life will always present new challenges. Keep growing and learning. Recognize the journey. Every moment shapes who you are and who you will become. David's story continues to inspire because it speaks to something universal: the power of courage, preparation, and faith in the face of giants, both literal and figurative. Whether your giant is fear, doubt, failure, or a seemingly impossible challenge, the principles remain the same. Face it with preparation, trust, courage, and humility, and you might be surprised by the victory waiting for you. As we close this series on the untold story of David and Goliath, remember this: your journey, just like David's, is filled with hidden moments of preparation, quiet victories, and lessons that will shape your courage, character, and legacy. The giants may appear intimidating, but the strength to face them has often been growing quietly within you all along.